I remember the day clearly. It was spring in Cotley, the apricot trees in bloom, and the scent of cinnamon in the air. My son, Ahad, had called earlier in the week saying he would send something special for my birthday. I didn't expect much, maybe a small gift, a card, but nothing too grand. After all, he lives so far away, busy with his work and his young family. On the morning of my birthday, a courier arrived with a medium-sized gift box. Inside, neatly arranged in layers of pastel tissue paper, were cookies, beautifully decorated butter cookies in shapes of flowers, hearts, crescents. There must have been 2 dozen of them. I lifted the lid slowly, my heart fluttering. My dear boy, he remembers, I whispered, tears pricking my eyes. I spent that day slicing pieces of melon, making tea and savoring one cookie as I sat in my favorite cushioned chair, knitting quietly. Each bite was sweet, but also filled with memory. The way Ahad used to sit as a child on my lap, devouring homemade cookies of nearly the same shape I once made for him. In that moment, I felt young again, connected to my son across the miles. A few days later, early one morning, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find my daughter-in-law, Aisha, Ahad's wife, standing there with soft eyes and a folded shawl over her arm. She was carrying their toddler, little Zayn, asleep in her arms. "Assalamu alaikum, Ammi," she said. "I hope I'm not disturbing you?" Her greeting warmed me, but confusion flickered in my heart because I hadn't expected her. She hesitated, then placed something gently in my hand. "Some of these cookies, please," she whispered, indicating the box on the kitchen counter. "Zayn loves sweets. I thought he could have a few." I looked at her, then at the cookies. Something sealed inside me. Unexpected guilt, perhaps, or a sudden wave of grandmotherly pride at her asking. They wanted some. She wanted to share. I hesitated, then smiled and nodded. "Of course, dear." Without another word, she opened the box carefully, taking several cookies one by one, placing them in a clean tin she had brought. I watched as she tucked them into decorative paper, speaking softly to my grandson. She didn't take all, just 6, maybe 8, leaving the rest untouched. When she left, I closed the door, placing my hand over my heart. Alone, I realized I had no intention of stopping her. Instead, I had willingly, even proudly, given her the box and not just a few cookies. Why? Because I looked at those cookies and saw my own daughter-in-law, struggling perhaps with motherhood or with the distance from her mother or home, and I saw generosity. I chose kindness. I made tea and sat again by the window. The cookies were gone, in her hands no longer mine. I could have taken them back. Each cookie was my son's gift to me, but something deep inside told me to let them go. Perhaps it was because I know what it means to miss your own mother, to wish for even a small piece of comfort when raising a child far from your roots. Maybe in that moment I felt that part of Ahad's love should flow to her too. I remembered the early days. Aisha was shy, quiet, nervous around me. She'd asked me once, months ago, "Ami, you think I'm not good enough for your son?" I'd laughed, put an arm around her and said, "You are exactly who he chose, and I could not love anyone more." Over the years, she'd grown in confidence and grace. She cooks well, though different from my style. She laughs, plays with Zayn, tells stories of her own childhood in Rawalpindi. She misses her mother, who passed away when she was small. I knew she longed for a mother figure too. So when the cookies arrived, not homemade but beautifully made, I felt the love in the gesture, but also wondered if some of that love had direction to me. And then I thought, why not let it reach her too? Why not share warmth? Later that afternoon, Ahad called. He spoke excitedly, asking if I'd received the package. I assured him I had. He asked if I liked the cookies. "Yes, my dear, they were delicious." But I didn't say they were nearly gone. He laughed, told me his son, Zayn, had gobbled up most of them. "He loves sweets," he said. "Guess he sent them with you in mind. We all got them." I didn't say anything. I smiled inside, thinking of Aisha and her careful collection. I let him talk a while longer about work, about the baby's first steps, about his longing to visit. When the call ended, I sat quietly for a long time. I thought about the language of love, cookies as tokens, hearts reaching across space. Love doesn't have to be selfish. Sometimes it flows outward. I realized the joy of letting go is not in loss, but in giving again. Over the next days, I baked again. Cardamom biscuits, rosewater rusks, honey cookies. I filled a small tin with them and addressed it to Aisha. I wrote a note. Dear Aisha, thank you for sharing my gifts. Let these be a small return for your warmth and kindness. May Zain's laughter always fill our home. With love, Ami. I mailed it the next morning. A week passed. Then I received a message from Aisha. Thank you, Ami. Every one of those biscuits made my heart feel at home. Zain says they are the best in the world. My heart soared. And then unexpectedly, Ahad called again. Ami, he said, voice a bit quiet. I got a box in the mail yesterday. Made by you. And a card. I didn't expect this. Thank you. He paused a moment. I think the world is big sometimes and small other times. The cookies came full circle. I laughed softly. Love does that, my dear. He told me he felt connected even though miles apart. That tingle in a mother's heart when she hears that her children are caring for each other reflected back. That was my reward. Over the following months, our relationship shifted subtly. Aisha called more often, sometimes with simple messages. Ami, tried your biscotti. Wonderful. Zain asks if he can come visit you sometime. Ahad started sending photos. A picture of Zain playing in our courtyard, another of Aisha laughing beside me at a family video call. Once on video, I saw Aisha holding a little box. Ami, she said shyly, I made you something, a bracelet with apricot blossom beads. She held out her hand, showing a delicate string of beads. She'd seen me admire apricots in bloom in my garden when we last called. Little gestures, they mattered. I wore that bracelet for days. My life is full of small moments now that carry meaning. As grandmother, as mother-in-law, as mother of a grown son, I learned that relationships are not owned but shared. When I gave cookies to my daughter-in-law, I was not betraying my son. I was embracing family. When I baked for her, I was not expecting reciprocation. I was expressing gratitude. Finally, the day came when they all visited. I had prepared. I baked fresh buns, shaman, halwa, sweet yogurt. I set the courtyard with cushions and a trellis of jasmine overhead. The children came rushing. Zain ran into my arms, clutching a drawing he'd made. 2 stick figures, holding hands under an apricot tree. Above he'd written, Ami. I kissed him, tears in my eyes. Aisha walked in quietly beside Ahad. She looked radiant, wearing the bracelet. She carried a small wooden box, which she placed on the table and opened to show more of those blossom beads, necklace and earrings. I wept softly. At dusk, we all sat and shared tea, cookies, laughter. Ahad told stories of his travels. Zain showed his new tricks. Aisha talked of her mother and her dreams. I listened, feeling whole. That night, as we prayed, I offered gratitude not only for son or grandchildren, but for the unexpected journey. A birthday box of cookies turned into connection. I forgave any silent doubts I held. I gave space for love to spread. These cookies, simple confections, were more than sweet treats. They were threads in a tapestry of family, memory, and forgiveness. When I received them from my son, I was touched. But when I shared them with my daughter-in-law, I made a choice to nurture unity over division, generosity over claim. My home has changed. Roles remain, mother, grandmother, mother-in-law, but love flows among us, not from one to another, but through us all. And every time I bake something now, I imagine these bonds and renew my promise that love is not finite. It grows when shared. It heals when given away. And it circles back, full, warm, sweeter than any cookie ever could be.